So just tell me a little bit about why you guys felt the need for the organization to be formed, and then we'll go into the questions.
So the organization was formed by Dr. J. Lawrence Turner, who was the senior pastor of Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church. And he formed it, we'll have a year anniversary this in September, but he formed it after the George Floyd murder and the unrest that occurred, and just wanted the church to be more involved in social justice issues, and saw that that need was, the organization could feel a need, he thought. And that's how it got started.
Okay, so a lot of organizations kind of spoke out against the George Floyd murder, and they promised to do some things, but I don't know how many of those items have actually come to pass. So what progress have you guys made in terms of what your initiatives and what you're trying to do?
Okay, so we didn't make any promises, but that the organization has three focus areas. It's economic empowerment, civic engagement, and criminal justice reform. And of course, with the George Floyd murder, we started with criminal justice reform. So if you're familiar with Mayor Strickland's reimagining policing, that is something that advisory committee is something that started pretty much with this organization. We presented a proposal to him about how to go about changing police and policing, and how to do a study and how to engage the community. And he took that study and revised it, but he did most of it similar to what we had encouraged him to do. They have come out with some really good recommendations, but in all honesty, I don't think most of the recommendations have been implemented. So we are still following. You know, we have a new police director, a new chief, and we're giving her time to see what changes she wants to make. But we're still interested in reimagining policing, and so that's something we're still on the outlook. So
Okay,
I was going to go ahead
go
as
ahead.
regards to economic empowerment. So we're interested in anything or almost anything that reduces or eradicates poverty in Memphis. And so we've looked at a number of things, and we are involved, as you know, the Small Loan Fund. We started out with this initiative to talk about trying to buy Black, and then trying to help small Black businesses to get advertisement. And it morphed into this. We did a kind of review and saw that many of the people in our community live, of course, in poverty. And they get a lot of these payday loans. We weren't aware how many payday lenders there were in Memphis until we started to do our research. And there's a significant number. And so we then start to research how can you impact that? And then unfortunately, it's difficult to do so because the laws in Tennessee make that possible. The huge interest rates is not something that's prohibited. And so we started trying to figure out what we could do, and decided that we could offer an alternative to the payday lending. And that's when churches came together, the organization came together. We reached out to several banks and then to Hope Credit Union. And Hope Credit Union was the one who was most interested, and decided they would partner with us to provide these small loans in $500 to $1,000 to as an alternative to payday lending.
Okay. So, how are you guys going to educate the community? I know that you had a press conference, but what are going to be some of the ways that you really reach that population of individuals to let them know that this resource is available, and then to also think about the reason why most people go to payday loans?
Okay. So a marketing firm has been hired by Hope to try and get the message out into the community. And then Hope themselves, they have an engagement person, the vice president, Latoya Brewer. She will be making appointments with all our participating churches to go out and talk to the congregations to explain the program and how it's going to operate, but also to talk about the other financial programs and offerings that Hope has available to people. So that's how we're going to reach it, through the churches and then through the marketing firm.
Okay. So one of the things you mentioned is that you're trying to like reduce poverty, but also create generational wealth. And we know that reducing poverty is one thing, but when you're trying to create generational wealth, what are some things that you guys envision for doing that within your organization?
So the chair of the Economic Empowerment Committee is Reverend Darrell Harrington, who is the senior pastor at New Sardis Baptist Church. And Reverend Harrington has a strong interest in believing that you can improve in generational wealth through housing, through owning a home. And so that's really where we started, trying to see how we can impact people's ability to buy homes. And that's when we started. We reached out to Dr. Soares, and we have the D-Free Financial Freedom Academy. There's some research that says that people don't buy homes because they don't have credit. They don't understand the financial products. So we thought that if we offered D-Free to people, they would learn about how to be credit worthy, those that aren't, and then more likely get them to the process where they will be able to purchase a home. So that's probably the major issue about generational wealth. We're also very much interested in wage increases, and that we believe that people should earn a living wage. And we know and we support the $15 an hour, but we also know that that's not enough, that really we're looking more like $22 to $23 an hour for people to have an actual living wage. So those are some of the things that we're interested in doing as well.
Okay. So since this is a Black church initiative, what churches are part of the organization at this point?
So there are like 40 churches that have participated from time to time. They are on the website, and I can't tell you who they all are, but the key churches are on the executive committee, and they have membership on the executive committee, and I can tell you what they are. So of course, that's Dr. J. Lawrence Turner, which is Mississippi Boulevard. Then you have Dr. Gina Stewart, which is Christ Missionary Baptist. You have Dr. Byron Moore, which is St. Andrew's AME. You have Bishop Edwards, which is Golden Gate. You mentioned Earl Fisher with, I can never pronounce that word.
Obsidian Baptist Church.
Baptist Church. I struggle with that one. And then Linwood Dillard with, what is it called? It's Kojic, Church of God in Christ. Citadel of Deliverance is what it's called. And I think I got everybody. And Dr. Harrington, Reverend Harrington with New Sardis. I think that's everyone. That's the executive.
Okay. Committee. So with COVID still being an issue that we're all facing, are your churches offering like in-person educational opportunities for members, or do you guys have like some virtual training or educational?
Okay, workshops? So the D-Free is all virtual. We started that during COVID, and you just couldn't do anything in person. The educational training that Hope is going to provide, I'm not sure. The initial thought was it would be in person, but that was before we started seeing the numbers go up. So that may change as well. It may be virtual. And most of all of our churches, not all, some of them have gone back to in-person service, but most of them have not. I missed someone from the executive committee, Dr. Karen Todd. So.
Okay. Well, I really do think that starting in the church is probably the ideal focus, because you have the pastors are the opinion leaders, so you're already connected with the membership, and so they're more likely to trust the information that they're receiving from their pastors. So I think that this is a good start to trying to reduce poverty. So do you foresee working with other like governmental agencies within the city to kind of help address as it relates to, different policy changes?
Yes, so almost all of our initiatives are associated. They start out with some type of service component, and then there's advocacy, and then there's some policy related to that. So, for example, the payday loans, of course, is the loan fund is our alternative, but we're doing research through the Hope Policy Center to find out how many there are, what their impact is, how many dollars, millions of dollars they take from our communities. And then from there, we'll decide what the policy ask will be of government in the city and county. One of our other initiatives is kind of related to that. We started getting involved in the eviction issues. And so right now we're trying to start what's called a court watch. So we can be in the courtroom doing on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays when they're having the eviction court. And we can gather stories and information about who's being evicted and who's accepting the settlement agreements. And then from there, we'll have some policy asks as well. One of the things that we're interested in right now as it relates to eviction is there a different way? If the people who are in eviction court could have their rent current for this month, is there any way the law would allow them not to be evicted? This has been done in other cities where if you have August rent is current, then they won't evict you. As long as you establish a payment plan to make up the back rent, then they would. So that's one of the things that we're looking at in the eviction and settlement. We wanted to look at the requirements that they have, because the requirements, really, everybody's not eligible for eviction settlement based on the requirements. So all of those are policy asks.
Okay. So how can individuals support your organization? I know that you guys are asking for financial donations to support the loan fund, but what are some other ways that the community can support what you're doing?
So congregational members can come and join we ask churches to join the organization and become dues paying members, and then ask their congregation to become volunteers. For instance, with civic engagement, we'd like people to be able to make a phone call and say, we need 50 people at county commission today, and people would show up. And so people can volunteer for that. The same thing with Court Watch, that will be a need for volunteering. And then some of the other things that we're doing, we're starting church gardens. We're looking at starting a farmer's market, and we're going to start a study to determine about community-owned grocery stores. And so all of that takes people interested in that work, who are committed to showing up for meetings, who are committed to doing research, and who are committed to raising money.
Okay, well, I know that there are some neighborhoods that are already kind of working on some of the projects that you guys are working on, and there are certain organizations. So do you have, or do you envision to have some kind of collaborations with some organizations that are currently, so I think about Micah, which is a faith-based organization, and they have some initiatives that they're working on. So would there be any kind of collaborations with other organizations to just kind of strengthen, or will this just strictly be focused on the Black church?
So we are focused on not just the Black church, but on Black people and the Black community. And that is pretty much our single focus. And because we believe that anything that uplifts the Black community in Memphis uplifts Memphis, because Memphis is 64% Black. Where there are other organizations where we have overlap, if we can work together and collaborate on that overlap, we're open to that collaboration.
Okay. Well, are there any last words that you would like to share that I haven't asked or we haven't discussed?
I guess the only thing is, as it relates to the small loan fund, we are very interested in getting that information out to people and in raising the $40,000 remaining that we have. So we're interested in talking to anyone who has an interest in that. And we are very interested in any church who wants to become a member of BCCM and join our committees in Black church and continue this work.
Okay. All right.